allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd like to participate, still stay standing for a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight. We just want to say thank you so much for giving us this wonderful, beautiful day to be here tonight to make the decisions for our community and to act as one. And we just ask you to open our hearts and our minds, open for suggestions and ideas to get together, improve our community. We just like to say thank you so much. And please keep your hands upon our service members and keep them safe and out of harm's way. And if there's any of them out and abroad, we ask you to bring them safe, bring them home. So I say thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Hey, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. Again, we'd like to hear your participation in everything that we have. No, fine. I'd like to introduce, at my far right is Fiscal Officer Ms. Brannick. To my close right here is Trustee Mr. Durbin, and to my left is Trustee Ms. Steinley, and I am John Wilson. At this point, I'd like to give us a few minutes. We'd like to accept our do a few reports here to accept our minutes and stuff. So, will Ms. Steinley?
Yes, I would move to table the acceptance of the minutes from the January and February meetings until we come to resolution on the motion which we're going to have.
Second.
Yes, Ms. Wilson.
Yes. Yes.
Motion to approve the February 2025 bills. Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve the February 2025 payroll, EFTs, and withholding balance. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, participation at the township meetings is encouraged. In the effort to conduct township business in an orderly and effective manner, the Board of Trustees has adopted the following rules for public participation in the conduct of township meetings. Public participation at the regular meeting of the board is limited to 5 minutes per individual speaker, and all comments and questions shall be addressed to the chairperson of the board. Okay, at this point, like what we're going to do here is we have a guest speaker, so we'd like to open up new public participation. Is there somebody here that I haven't seen without speaking?
You're Scott Gaffer, right?
Yes.
We didn't meet, but yes, he's right here.
Okay. Scott, if you would like.
Good evening. I'm Scott Gafford. I'm with the county's Economic Development Department. I'm here with Ty, who's a business owner currently in Union Township. On a business retention visit, he revealed that he is working towards potentially moving his facilities to TATE Township, and asked if there were any tools, incentives that the county could bring to bear to help his project move forward. Currently, right now there's a couple tools. The Port Authority, which would operate separate from, would not affect the township in any way, may be able to assist with the sales tax exemption. The only other tool that has any control through our office and through the Tate Township trustees would be an enterprise zone property tax abatement. We don't have an agenda here today. We haven't even had conversations as to potential terms. It's very preliminary, but just wanted to, I think, present that to the trustees and in front of the public, and just gather a little more sentiment on if there's an appetite for that kind of incentive to relocate a business. It would be as headquarters. I think it would be a good addition to the township. But largely, my marching orders from the Claremont County Commissioners are to let the township and the township trustees drive decisions on enterprise zone property tax abatements. And generally, unless there's really a problem from the county commissioners' point of view, they will generally follow the trustees' wishes on a deal like this. So certainly here to open up the floor for questions from you all. Answer them as best I can. Of course, we don't have a ton of numbers on the table right now. We haven't really negotiated or even begun discussions in earnest. So we're just getting out ahead of it.
First of all, Mr. Bear did call me, I think it was 2 days ago or so, about him possibly coming here. And I suggested that way all 3 trustees could hear at the same time, that you would be here for this, instead of trying to relay messages back and forth and stuff. So we did bring it here so that way we could have full transparency on what's happening on this case. So you guys have any questions?
Would you mind just, I think, for the benefit of the public and as a reminder for myself, would you talk us through just generally what that looks like? What is the enterprise zone tax abatement program?
So an enterprise zone property tax abatement would abate a portion of the new value that is realized on the parcel or parcels as a result of the new construction. So whatever the value is today before the project starts will not go away. It will stay. For an enterprise zone, you can offer a tax abatement of 60% of the new value for up to 10 years without school board approval. If you want to go above that 60% or 10-year term up to 15 years, the school board would have to approve it. Either they can be compensated through what's called a payment in lieu of taxes, or they can just agree to waive the restriction on it and allow the abatement to go at whatever term above 60 and 10.
School board, is that right? The school board.
The school board would
waive it or get some kind of payment.
Yeah,
is that right?
And that's up to them to negotiate in terms of that agreement. So again, whatever the value is today does not go anywhere. For example purposes, if it was 60%, that in 10 years that was agreed to, the property would still get the 40% of that new value assessed to it, and taxes would be paid on that. He would be abated the 60% of that new value. So if it was $1 million project, essentially 600,000 of that would be taken off the tax rolls for a period of 10 years. But the 400,000 would remain on the tax rolls in addition to whatever the value of the land is today. So that's essentially it in a nutshell. It has to go through the trustees and be passed by resolution. After the trustees, it would then go to the Claremont County Commissioners to pass it by resolution.
That base tax amount, is that the real tax amount, or if the property is subject to, for example, like a CAUV credit? What's the base amount?
The CAUV would cancel out.
It would go away, so it would be whatever that real value is.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would continue forward, and then the question becomes, what happens to that new value?
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Is it 60%, take it or leave it, or is it up to 60%?
Up to 60%. It's to the township. It'd be myself or our director that would sit in on those discussions, and the property owner, developer, and so that can be negotiated. I mean, we have anywhere from a 10% for 10 years, 30% for 3 years. Typically, they're probably in the 50 to 60% range. in order for the property owner to actually realize any real incentive. Yeah, depending on the size of the project. The bigger the project, the more impactful both to the township, county, schools, and to the property owner it's going to be. So, Nestle Purina's is quite impactful, whereas, doing a 30% for 3 years on a small manufacturing facility, it's not a huge impact on either side.
You said typically you see 50 to 60% depending on the type of project, right?
So we have in the past tried to come up with sort of a standardized procedure for these negotiations at the county level. But ultimately, again, the trustees, the local legislators have to agree to it. And since they have the first seat at the table, I have found it difficult to actually implement that practice or that policy in practice. So Miami Township's ex-administrator just would give a blanket 50%, 7 years. That's what he did. Union Township, those two examples I gave you, they negotiated those. They did 10%, 10 years, 3%, or 30%, 3 years. And some other townships just don't do them.
We've never done one before, do you know?
Certainly not since I've been here for 4 years, not to my knowledge.
That's nothing that I know of. You said there's a lot of times each township they're in, they give 50 to 60%, for example. What does the company bring to the community to be able to get that 50 to 60% tax rate?
Well, I guess I should start the conversation with the enterprise zone and the CRA, which is very similar, exists to close financing gaps, funding gaps. That is the original intent of the program. So there is a but-for clause in the Ohio Revised Code, essentially that if not but for these incentives, the project is not going to go forward. In practice, I think that's debatable on a lot of projects. I think in practice, a lot of it is this is the world we play in. Every single state's got it. Every township, every county has this same tool. And so sometimes in practice that doesn't necessarily happen. It's the township's right, it's the county's right to ask for supporting documents in those cases. It's not often asked for, and it's the property owner, developer's right to not hand those, a pro forma or something of that matter over. I think ultimately in the reality of the program, I think it's seen as a business-friendly, a pro-business incentive, a way to attract businesses. Obviously, his business is not located in Tate Township today. And so I think that's the way a lot of townships view the program.
It's my understanding on some of these things is because a lot of times these tax breaks are given to them because let's take Karina, for example. They were hiring quite a few people and stuff like that for that project and stuff like that. So that is the reason why they give these tax breaks, correct?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, jobs are tied to the property tax abatement. So in the agreement, he will have to, or any prospective business owner has to agree to create or retain a certain level of jobs, and they have to maintain either that retention number or creation number throughout the terms of the agreement. We review these every year at Tax Incentive Review Council. And so the company or the developer has to provide their total jobs retained, their total jobs created, as well as payroll created for each calendar year that the abatement is active. And if they do not meet those agreed upon numbers for any 3-year period, meet 75% of those agreed upon numbers for any 3-year period, the abatement can be terminated. In addition to the taxes that were foregone can be requested to be paid back. So that's over a 3-year period. I've not seen that happen, but we've certainly terminated agreements that weren't complying.
The agreement that you reference, is it sort of like a stock standard agreement
Yeah,
that's used?
the state has a template. The Ohio Revised Code has specific clauses that have to be in the agreement, and then the county prosecutor has modified it to fit our needs. But it's pretty well spelled out in the Revised Code. And I do also want to mention that I think an interesting way to structure these for a small business that is undertaking a huge capital outlay is it doesn't have to be 60% every year for 10 years or whatever that term length is. You can start at 100% for 1 year, 90, 70, 50. As long as that averages out to 60%, you can avoid the school board issue. But in the first 3 years of this project, the company has a huge outlay of capital that they're probably not used to, especially for a smaller business, used to putting out there. So I think that's a nice, genuine way of sort of mitigating some of the risk for the property developer or business owner during those first few years of construction and sort of getting their feet under them with a new building.
Any other questions?
Just
Go
one
ahead.
more. Sorry.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that sort of this happens, or this sort of develops sort of throughout a negotiation, and you mentioned it was somebody from your department,
Yeah,
the
so
trustees, and then the business owner. Is that right?
well, I mean, the business owner is essentially going to start the talks. He or she will request a certain exemption terms, and then essentially Chris McClintock's our director. He's also the housing director of Claremont County, which is essentially just a title for somebody's sort of your lead negotiator for property tax abatement incentives. And then generally for a township, it would be one sort of liaison. You could assign Shelby, could be one of the trustees to negotiate. And then eventually, if those terms are agreed upon, you notify the school board. That's a public notice that's sent out. And then that details the meeting, the trustee meeting, where you guys would consider, where the trustees would consider the abatement agreement. And then same thing for the county commissioners.
I don't have any more questions. Appreciate your input.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
At this point, what do you think about, obviously, we're talking to see if there's some of our citizens here that might have some questions, for some concerns to address, not questions to ask them, but at least if there's anybody out here with questions that need to be addressed to us, not how do you feel about doing this? Address that. We didn't know about this. Yeah, I think all the property owners should, just the same as no one has done changes here. Well, let me hold on. We're gonna open this up to public comment at this point.
And I would be interested in okay, then.
How much time would you like to address a lot of this? 30 minutes, basically, rules. At this point, I'd like to recommend that we open up for public participation on this subject, the tax abatement for the 125 Burke Road, and open up for a total of 30 minutes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, obviously we have a sign-in sheet here, and we didn't know about this, so that it's some of the people that might have some questions at this point, it might not be on the sign-in sheet, but this case, what was just brought up here, is there anyone here who'd like to make a comment at this point about what was just mentioned? Okay. Ladies before gentlemen, come on.
No.
Right. Okay, yeah, come on up.
Okay.
Could you start by stating your name?
Sandy Howison. I am astonished and I am pretty much outraged at this being pulled at such a late date. Isn't it bad enough that this man wants to come in here and take away the residential quality of our neighborhood? That we have spoken about this numerous times. I've spoken to you guys about how this parcel that we're talking about is completely surrounded by residences. We are talking about the actual property, are we not? Yes. Okay. So we already know that it's completely surrounded. You already know that every single person who has spoken about this, who lives in those areas, has spoken against it. Okay. And now he comes up and first meeting he was here, he shows the beautiful building. He has this lawyer talking about it, and he's going to do all this. And now he's poor mouthing. Now he's saying, I can't afford it. I need tax breaks. Well, who is that going to help? It's not going to help the township. They're losing money. It's certainly not going to help me and all of the issues that I have about my views and everything else. Now he's poor mouthing. You know, if he terminates the agreement, as they were talking about, the building is still going to be there. All of the problems that were going to be there in the start are still going to be there, except everybody, he's asking everybody to prostitute themselves to give him tax breaks for something that nobody wants anyway. You know that all the residents who have spoken don't want this anyway. And now they have the gall to come here and say, oh, we want some tax breaks. We want to not only have this building built here, but we want to screw the schools for 10 years. We want to screw the township for 10 years. We want you to not charge us any taxes. What kind of why would you even consider doing that? I am so outraged at this. And if he terminates the agreement for whatever reason, the building is still there in our face. You know, the property owners around that lose, the township loses. It's a lose-lose situation for everybody except him. And that is, I cannot tell you how outraged I am for this proposition to come up here. And anybody who considers taking it, I think, does not have the best interest of the residents, the township, the schools, anything. You are taking money out of circulation just to give him money to do what he wants, which is not anything that we want anyway. So please, don't accept this. This is ridiculous. It shouldn't even be an issue because you know that we have a new zoning plan that's going to be coming up. Nothing should be done until that zoning plan is done anyway. This PUD is just commercial by another name. You don't want to make it commercial zoning, but it's a commercial enterprise by another name. And I'm appalled that this is even coming up.
Good evening. My name is John Howison. I second what she just said. I came up earlier and asked for an agenda. Had the Burke residents known that this was going to be on tonight's agenda, I can guarantee you there'd be at least 12 more people here. So without the agenda, I don't think you can do anything with this until you hear from more Burke residents. He's going to get a tax abatement. I'm going to get a property devaluation because his business is going in adjacent to our properties. So everybody on Burke Road, their property value is going to go down. Schools are going to lose taxes off of this, and schools are getting a gift off of this or getting a loss, a huge loss. Who knows what's going to happen with this budget that the Wines got is how much school money's coming down to our schools. Bethel gets more from the state of Ohio than from anywhere else. So if the state of Ohio cuts it, Bethel schools could sure use this kind of tax money. My wife mentioned a PUD. Based upon what I saw happen a couple weeks ago up in Batavia Township, I do not trust anybody with a PUD. Everybody in Batavia didn't want to see that 688 housing development going in right next to the airport, but somebody sure did because they passed it on a PUD. And if you read the Enquirer, there's a whole lot going on down in Cincinnati and Hyde Park Square with that PUD. I don't want to see a PUD. I want to see a zoning change. And I want a zoning change that'll stick with what you guys are working on for this thing down the road. That's what I had to say.
You're welcome. What else like to speak on this?
Tyler Gibbs, Actual Building Group. I am the guy who is looking to build our headquarters at the property that we are discussing. I approached Jobs of Ohio and in turn got Jobs of Ohio and Claremont County in a room with me to discuss some opportunities to some incentives for us to continue to invest in this county, in this township. The county encouraging me to do this and want to stay in their county. And this is where we're at. I think it's important to note that this property currently generates $700 and some change in property taxes for our township. It will generate $15,000 plus when we are done with this. And we're not talking about a 100% tax deduction. We're talking about, we haven't even spoke about terms. This is just an initial, what you guys think about this. In my mind, we should be encouraging development, and that's one way to do it. That's one way Batavia Township does, Union Township does, and there's a right way to do it, and that's why this discussion is happening. But I think it's important to note, the only thing that was just said was about the township needing taxes. We have a choice to make. We have a 12-acre parcel that makes $700 a year in property taxes for this township. Or you can let me invest $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, whatever it ends up being, and we could bring in more tax dollars into this township. And what we're looking for is some encouragement from the township. We have all the encouragement from everybody else. And, I think it's also important to note that I have heard from 4 people on Burke Road, and I've heard from, not directly, but indirectly, several back there that have no comment on this development. I've heard from 1, 2, maybe adjoining neighbors on this development. I've heard from 2 people on Macedonia. I've heard from 1 or 2 residents that are on the end of Burke Road, but we've heard from 1 person that touches this property, 1.5. There was 1 early on that hasn't come back to comment on it. So again, we are here to be a partner to the township. We are here to bring in development in this township and do it the right way. We're here to invest money, resources, bring jobs to this township. As part of the things that I've discussed with the county, we are, committing to job growth. And if we don't, we owe the money back. That's what that they're looking to give us. I think all that is important for growth anywhere you go. And so the benefits that we feel we're bringing to this township largely outweigh the tax incentives that we are looking at right now by far. And I think I presented that data to you guys as well in earlier meetings of what kind of benefit our company can bring to this township and the kind of revenue it brings in and what just one family member or one employee brings to a township. I presented that data early on, and it far exceeds what we're seeking. So that's what we're looking at right now. I have no further comments unless you guys have questions for me. So
No.
thank you.
Lynn Beatty, I'd just like to mull it over some more, which I think you all need to. We've had of late, probably within the past year to 2 years, we've heard a lot about tax abatements. A lot on the bad side coming from Batavia. don't do whatever the heck they've done down there, because they have strained their schools, their fire, their life squads tremendously with their proposal of what they've done. Their people are probably going to exodus en masse. They're angry. And everybody's been hearing and reading about that. So whatever we as a township decide to do, I think we really not to do anything quickly. Check into it a lot, get a lot of citizens' input, because the few that are here are by no means representation of our district. Also get somebody from the school board. Have them come in and give us what their thoughts are on tax abatements or whatever for them. And yes, we know that good old Nestlewood is supposed to be paying for schools, but yeah, we don't know when that's ever going to happen either. Brown County's still waiting. So, we can't depend on them. So, and I can also kind of see the business end of it, but again, we're falling into uncharted territory that I think really needs to nothing quickly happen. And if Mr. Gibbs is expecting this to quickly happen, I think he needs to put the skids on his too, because this is a new animal that nobody's dealt with before. We've got somebody that put in, a down the highway, we've got a lot of business people here that never did tax abatements. We've got somebody that just built a new facility in the process of getting a business. He never got a tax abatement. So I think as people need to kind of think about this and know all the ins and outs and know the traps before we fall in them. Just my thoughts.
Anyone else?
Got one more, just quick. I think it's important to
I'm
note.
not here. Okay.
I think it's important to note that the tax abatements in Batavia are in properties that are annexed in from the village, and they're 15-year, 100% property tax abatements on residential homes. It's a little different animal. We're talking about hundreds of homes too, and so I can see some of the upset people in Batavia, and I'm familiar with those tax abatements, but it's a little bit different than what we're talking about tonight. That's all.
Well, I agree. This is like a.
Can I just add a rebuttal to him? Honestly, 30 seconds. Okay, he thinks that talking about the schools. All right. They came up here talking about how we can do this and not tell the schools about it. We're not going to tell the schools about it. We're going to pull a fast one on the schools. Well, that's just wrong. That's a wrong thing to do. You do not pull a fast one on the schools in this district, because they need the money. So don't go making it sound like it's going to be good for everybody, because it's not.
Okay, thank you. Well, at this point, I agree. I would like to suggest that we have to schedule this for another time. We give one of the residents on Burke Road adjoining properties about this, where they have an opportunity, and other people, if they'd like to come up here and speak on this point. How do you feel about that, Ms. Thomas?
I mean, this is the first week. So when you look at it, I'm not familiar with them. I don't know the benefits or dangers. I agree with what Lynn, Sandy, and Brooke said, that to make sure that we are not creating issues. Understand what this is. So I would like to.
Purpose?
I agree that we need to figure out what's going on. That's the problem.
I don't know if it makes sense for her.
Okay, obviously we need to set a time here for everyone to talk, and then this is probably going to be a pretty good conversation going on that tonight to decide. So, would you like to set a date right now to set time to have this?
If you want to do it at our
What?
Tuesday, or did you want to let this out?
Our projects, we have our fourth possible building. Yeah, the 2 grants. Is there anything else? I just want to make sure we have enough time that night. Anything else that we're going to be discussing on that night? Yes. Grant. Yes. Is it? Okay, and the other thing I think about is obviously it's, I think we still need to stick with the 10-day notice to give people plenty of time to do the right arrangements to get here. So, if we do this, we're obviously giving 14 days. So, the 25th sounds good? Okay. So,
You want to take it into consideration?
yeah, it's, this grant, if you get it posted on our website, that we have this meeting, and, Mr. Barrett, that give you time to get in touch with the adjoining residents, so they have the opportunity to get here to voice their side on this subject?
If you can put that out, but it's important to note that it's not a zoning hearing,
Yes.
and you just need to give me a very detailed message memo that you want to go out.
I think we need to handle this the same way.
Sign still says 211, but that's, so this would be.
It's, no,
Yes, everybody on Burke will know
Okay,
about it.
hold on. I want to keep this formal here.
All right, sorry.
But thank you for the info. Well, at this point, I'd like to make a motion to table the discussion on the 125 Burke Road tax abatement until Tuesday, March 25th at 7 p.m. to have a time for the people to get here to voice their all the opinions of everyone involved on this case.
Yes.
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 Okay.
I gotta ask this. You kind of make it sound like the Burke, but this is a TATE township.
Well, yeah.
Okay, just so it's not just
Any
saying
zoning,
Burke.
anything to do with zoning or anything like that, you get the word out to the adjoining property owner. Now, other people in the township have every right to come here and voice their opinion
And
also.
shouldn't that be stated too, so it doesn't look like it's just Burke Road people?
Yeah, when we create the language. it'll be-
Okay.
School board, all my house.
it'll be broad.
We will take in consideration, this is not open for here, we will take in consideration, everybody that this affects, to give them the opportunity to be here on the 25th to speak.
The 25th is the second meeting of this month anyway.
Yeah, that's why we booked it on that, yes.
Okay.
Okay, Okay, on new projects, I say on new participation here, I know, meeting, just so you know, we're meeting, last couple of months, we've been meeting with the town council and the school board, historical society, several people like that. We've been discussing, about our TATE Township 220th anniversary coming up in June. And, so what we did is, on the last meeting, we brought up maybe about donating some money for the historical society, for the dinner and stuff to help people with that memorial.
What is it, for the,
Or historical society, yeah, because they have a dinner on December 6th, but we were meeting at that meeting, and that was brought up about the historical society.
$1,500 stuff they get on.
Well,
That's right.
I know they were asking for help. Because
Historical
what it
Society?
is, yes, the Historical Society, what they do is they got a benefit coming up on, a benefit dinner coming up on the 16th. Yes, they call it, there's also a big raffle, what they're doing is it's a fundraiser for the Historical Society to try to, raise some money to cover operational fees for the whole year. And they have a big presentation at, also, that dinner at the 16th, I might add, is at the U.S. Grant Vocational School. And there's an unveiling there of something that's going to be very beneficial for the township. I don't want to ruin it. But it's, I think it'd be very wise that as many people get there as possible. This is going to be a great thing for our community. But anyway, what this, the donation was for is to show that we're behind this and we're here as a community. That's what we're trying to do here with all this moving forward. I would like to suggest that we come up with some type of donation we give them to put toward their operational fees for the year.
I heard one of the statements. Something else. You got to let them know it's not a dinner.
Well, yeah,
They
they're
call it was not appetizers.
yeah, it's advertising. They're calling it a dinner, but yes, it is advertisers.
I think it's intended to be more of a neutral
Yes.
opportunity as opposed to.
But do you have any comments about the donation?
I mean, I think that.
Well, it's what we need to do now is figure out $5 not really like.
Mhm.
Questions? Possible. They're involved in whatever you event here in our township. So, okay, well, at this time, I'd like to make a recommendation that we donate. I'd like to make a resolution that we donate $1,500 to Bethel Historical Society donation for the operational fees for the Grant Memorial School.
Yes.
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 Well deserved.
It was just really, really good that we're all working together. Since you know, 220 year. We'll never see it again.
Yeah. And it's, okay. Well, at this point, I'd like to move on to the reports part of our meeting, and I'd like to start it off with our fire chief, Chief Cooper.
Good evening. Start out with the February fire and EMS report. We did 176 calls for the month. We had 52 fire calls. Of those 52, we had 3 structure fires, 2 fire alarms. We had 1 NVA with injuries and 2 without. We did 32 medical assists for the month. We were first responding a lot with the squad just due to the weather. We did 31 township calls, 18 calls in the village. We gave mutual aid 3 times, and we received it twice. Our route times was 1.3 minutes out the door and 4.3 on the scene. We had a $1,500 property content loss for the month and had a save of $195,200. No firefighter, civilian injuries or deaths for the month. On the EMS side, we did 124 calls. We had 128 patient contacts. We did 62 calls in the township, 57 in the village. We gave mutual aid 5 times, and we received mutual aid 5 times. En route, minute 3 on scene, 5.2 minutes. We did, of the 124 calls, we transported to the hospital 99 times. And for the month, we put 3,919 miles on the ambulance. Any questions on their?
Any questions, Tom?
You know.
I just got one comment, which is totally baffles me is your guys' response time. I just want to make a comment. I've made comments on it in the past, but it's phenomenal. It's so quick. We are blessed to have that type of response time.
They do a great job. I'm always on about getting out the door. So it was something that Rick had always instilled in us, and we're still continuing and striving to do better every day. So I appreciate that. I'll pass that on to the crews. We got the tires came in for both of the ambulances that have been put on both squads. Thanks to Band of Tire for donating their time and installation at no cost to the township. So we appreciate your help on that. Last month, I brought up a personnel matter to you about one of our full-time personnel being off for a knee injury. Lieutenant Taylor, he has found out that he is going to be requiring surgery next week. After he's been off ever since his initial injury, but he's going to be off for 4 months with that surgery. So I'll keep you guys updated on his recovery if he's able to get back. We got some part-timers that showed interest to be able to help cover the shift, so we won't have any type of loss for the on our manpower or any issues with that. So I think we'll be good there. That's how I have under old business.
All right. Go ahead.
Under new business, our 2021 ambulance, the one that we've had transmission issues with, has been doing the same thing where you go to take off, it jumps hard out of gear or it shifts hard. We'd already had that transmission replaced in that unit. We took it back because it's been doing it again. Speaking with Ford, they threw a new transmission in it last week, put the new one in it, drove it about 10 miles on it, had a catastrophic failure of the brand new transmission. So they turned around, got another one in, and got it replaced, and we did receive the ambulance back today. So we'll see how long this one works, and we'll go from there. So.
It definitely sounds like it's trying to keep the miles off.
Yeah. Well, it's doing something. I'm not sure which. So, but as of right now, it's back, and we'll see how it goes with the new one. So that will be the 4th transmission put in that unit. I want to remind all the residents that the state Ohio burn ban is back in effect. There's no open burning from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Our township residents can still obtain a burn permit, and we are allowing that you can burn from 6 p.m. until dark. And this is in effect for the months of March, April, and May. Next item there, the department's received a $5,000 training grant from the state fire marshal's office. This award was for trainings that we had done in 2024, where we had sent 5 of our personnel to get fire inspector, and then 1 of our personnel to get his firefighter certification. So we were able to get a majority of that cost back. So that's something that we just found out. Item number 4 there, in December, I had reported that we'd received a $5,000 donation from Vesper Energy. We had come up with a list of items that we feel help us be able to complete our daily mission. And some of the items that's on here are new items for the department. Some are replacing aging equipment. I've attached the equipment list there for you all to see, along with vendors and costs. Just to run down that 4 gas detector. We currently only have 1. We found a need recently with our new truck. We've been getting called to fire alarms. We show up on the scene and we don't have a gas detector in that truck. So it wasn't a fire alarm, it was a gas alarm. We need to check the house for gas or the business for gas. So the need there. That DeWalt saw, it's a rotary saw. It's a battery powered saw. So when we are on fires, to be able to cut tin off of barns or buildings, be able to get locks into that. That's just an addition of 1. We already currently have 1 on our 1 truck, but we need to utilize it onto our other apparatus. Our strut tools is just a specialized wrench that we need when we're cribbing auto accidents or if we have a collapse in a building. Radio straps, those are just, we've had them for 15 years. The leathers wore out. We tried to piece them to keep the radios together. The guys are required to wear where these, because of the portable radios that we have that cost $5,000, they put them in that, they put it on their body. That way they're not losing the radio or setting it down somewhere, or falling off the truck or whatever. The water rescue bags that we found there with the rope, while we were doing ice rescue training last month, we found that some of the bags that over time have rotted aren't being able to have the floats in them. They're just disintegrating, so we need to get those replaced. Carabiners go with the ropes. The wedge cribbing, we've discovered on some auto accidents where we've had cars on the side, we're not able to stabilize the vehicle good enough. With the newer designs, they have a little bit lower clearance on their sides with the ground. We need to be able to put a wedge in there to keep those vehicles stabilized while we're trying to get the patient out of that vehicle. And then the last is just a utility tool that we use for in fires for pulling ceilings, other debris from fires that we need. The total cost of all those items you can see there was for $4,989.80. I would just ask that the board would approve this attached list of equipment, quantities, and vendors for that total for us to purchase out of that $5,000 donation.
Okay, I'd like to recommend that we approve the attached list of equipment of a total of 30 different pieces of equipment and quantities and vendors for a total of $4,989.82.
Ms. Garland? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Number 5 there, I just want to bring your all's attention that our annual renewal for the health insurance on the fire department side for the staff is up in May. I've been working with our insurance agent. If we were to keep the current health insurance plan that we have now, we are looking at an 11% increase on our health insurance for the year. So he's working on numbers. We're looking at other insurance options, other insurance companies to be able to see if we can get that number lower. But, at 11%, it's over $28,000 more for the year. So as soon as we get that, I'll get those numbers back to you. But I wanted to get that back to you guys, get that on the radar for you so you're aware of that.
When you get those facts together, we have a meeting and discuss it.
Yeah. Yep. As soon as I get it all, I will make sure you guys are aware. Number 6, this one kind of comes out of a surprise. I was kind of told last week by one of our members that he's wishing to resign his full-time position with the department at the end of the month. His resignation reason is strictly just due to his personal retirement goals. He started late in his career here with the department, so he has about another 9 years left before he can retire. So paying into the pension versus a 401k that he had, he doesn't feel like he's going to be able to get what he needs at retirement age to move on, which I completely can appreciate that. I've spoke with him, and I've made sure that that is the true reason, that it's not nothing that's within the department or with personnel in the department, leadership of the department, or the township. It has nothing to do with that. It's strictly, completely his personal retirement goals that he needs. So we just had hired him last year. He wants to be able to stay on as a part-time firefighter medic with the department, which we have no problem with. So at this time, I would ask that the board accept the resignation of full-time firefighter paramedic James Whalen to be effective March the 31st, 2025, and then move him to a part-time firefighter paramedic status effective on April the 1st of 2025.
I'd like to recommend that the board accept the resignation of full-time firefighter paramedic James Whalen effective March 31st, 2025. Move him to a part-time firefighter paramedic status effective April 1st, 2025.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And then that leads into the next part of that. Since he is resigning, we will need to look at filling his position and having a hiring process. The way we will offer to our current qualified members within the department, as we always have in the past. And then if we don't see any interest from anybody here, then at that point in time, we would go to the outside to find somebody that would meet the qualifications that we're looking for and starting the process. I hope to have somebody in here by May the 1st, but obviously with processes and things like that, it could be later, but we'll move it as fast as we can to make sure that we're not losing anybody, in our staffing, having to create overtime and things like that. So, we want to hire one firefighter, paramedic. We have a current qualification list that we go by and we'll post for 2 weeks internally for members to put in their letter of intent. But I would just ask that the board of trustees approve the posting for the hiring of one firefighter, paramedic, just due to resignation.
At this point, I'd like to recommend that the board of trustees approve posting for the hiring of one firefighter, paramedic due to resignation. Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That is all I have. Thank you.
All right, very cool. Okay, at this time, I would like to move on to the street department. Mr. Stanley.
Cemetery report you have in front of you. I had a total of 14 burials in the month of February. Took in 3 orders for foundations, sold 4 graves. All 4 were at residents of the township by the grave. We have had 2 Saturday burials. That's all I have for the cemetery report. Any questions or comments?
The snow's over.
Yeah, correct. And we have, the fire department has a snow blower. We have tried it on different occasions. It's got to be a perfect snow for us to use. It's either solid ice, 10 feet of snow, or, that much snow, which we can blow it off a lot quicker. I'm glad it's got it, because we're going to keep trying. One of these days, there'll be a good opportunity.
Keep using it. Keep it running for you.
So thanks for the useful help. Moving to the road report, we've been finding more and more potholes, have bought more cold mix asphalt, replacing these holes or fixing these holes. Anybody has any holes that they know of, please let me know. We will take care of it. We've been restoring berms, turnarounds, curves, intersections, driveways that we use when we're turning around when we are plowing snow. A lot of times we'll be moving gravel when you don't mean to. Plow will get off the road, what have you. A lot of times we have private we have private owners that we use their driveways to turn around in from our one-way, no outlet road. We pay particular attention to those spots and we go back and clean them up. Add gravel if we need to, just for the generosity of them letting us use their driveway. We've installed 17 no parking anytime signs. The Brown Street, Roadway Avenue, Inez Avenue, Grant Avenue, Ohio Street, and Gaylord Avenue. I have scheduled Claremont County Municipal Court for the township cleanup days, which is July 11th and July 12th. We have salt and plowed the roads 5 times in the month of February, used 68.5 tons of salt. I have bought 49.85 tons that are delivered this month. We have, last I have is on Rogers Lane, like I sent you an email to explain what was going on. Rogers Lane has in need of a culvert replacement. It is a double culvert. It is elliptical culvert. Those are different. They have a low profile and there's not enough cover over top to put a standard pipe in. Pipe is roughly 31 by 45, I think is the dimensions of this. I've got the price on that, which is, there is no tax, obviously. The making of the pipe and the delivery alone will be $6,230 for the pipe itself. That does not include concrete, that does not include any stone I need, that does not include labor. $6,230 for the pipe delivered.
Do you have any idea about the total cost roughly?
Roughly under 10,000. I figured a load of concrete, which is basically going to be $2,000. Minimal amount of stone. I will be having to get with the homeowners adjacent to that on the downhill side. I do need to go through and open up a waterway and it's holding water back, which is part of the problem of the washout. It's made natural dams down through this creek, and they've got to be broken up to get where it can dry out to relieve the water. Otherwise, the pipes that we install is going to back up too. So we've got to relieve that problem. I have talked to the county in different situations. We are warranted to go on private property to do this. It is a natural waterway, so we have to get the spot. I have talked to one neighbor, and there will be no problem. He has no problem with it. However, the other neighbor is the one that's going to be going to work on. I haven't had a chance or found out contact him. Promised this one neighbor, and I'll promise everybody, I will clean up any mess I make on their property. I will not leave debris. If need be, we will seed, straw, whatever we have to do. Any mess I make will be fixed. There will be trees taken out. Trees are grown up in the middle of this creek, and they need to go through the water fountains. They grow in the swamp meadow. They have collected limbs, brush, leaves, everything is in the flow of the water. So they have to go and haul that out. So therefore, it might take a certain amount of type D riprap, bigger stone, bigger something to, in case the trees that I take out when the roots are going up into the hillside. The only way I know how to tell you, if I'm disturbing the sides, we need to keep the washing down on this property. So there might be some type of stuff I have to do to keep anything from eroding away. To make a worse problem for the home.
Question is, how many people are beyond that culvert pipe back in there? Like 2 or 3 back in there?
1, 5.
Okay, are you going to plane it every evening or what?
Yeah. I've got a plate on it now over the cave-in spot.
Yeah.
Might have to plate it again. We're going to keep a close eye on it. The place that I have will not do that job. Borrowing plates from another township, if they've got the length of plates I need. All we have is 10-foot plates. I need at least a 12 for span is for a problem. Once I get started on this project, I'm thinking, depending on the weather, but once I get started on it with no issues, I should be in and out of there within 3 days. But yes, we will plate it after I pour it. We'll dig it out, get everything ready one day. I'll have concrete ordered early the next morning. Then let it set up a little bit. I'll plate it again, and then within a couple of days, let the concrete set, and I'll be pouring the plate in.
Most of the residents will go ahead and bring their cars out.
Well, I'm going to talk to every homeowner. I'm going to talk to every homeowner, kind of get a feel for their schedule, and work it out that way. That's what I've always done with the private drive. When there's no outlet road, you gotta feel what they got going on.
When do you think you'll start the repair?
The pipe's not going to come in for 3 weeks. I'm not, weather permitting. I can't say it's going to be done this month or next month. It's weather permitting though. As long as it doesn't completely give away, then it becomes an emergency.
We got a lot of right away to do that. But I just wanted to put something sort of.
Do you have anything like that right now? type of standard format we have?
No, I've never had to do it. It's always been a handshake, and nobody's ever not trusted me on it.
Might be a good idea just to back it up.
That's up to you. That's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Donnelly, do you have anything? I do have something in here. It's, one of our meetings when we were meeting with all the different boards here in town, the township. It's, we had a compliment from a member of the school board. It was, man, I'm mind blank on what his name is. It was, anyway, yeah, Mr. Napier. He complimented and wanted to say that the township crew did a wonderful job on the roads during the big snows and stuff. He is the one that goes out and drives every single road out here to make sure the schools, the buses can get out and everything. He wanted us to relay a message to you and the crew that, you guys did a wonderful job, that it by far put all the other adjoining roads to shame. The township.
Good, thanks.
That boy.
Okay, at this point, we need to, go into executive session, words with ORC 121.22G1 to discuss an employee. So at this time, I'd like to close the regular meeting, go into executive session. The time is 8:07.
What if anybody's got a comment about something else?
We'll come back.
We'll come back.
Yeah, we just have to go to executive session and then we'll leave.
Yeah, what we're doing is we're giving, to try to give, the gentleman that's here earlier, he was a new speaker, so we gave it like, if you notice, I call it new public participation. We go through all the reports and everything, there again, we're going to give it old news public participation, that way everybody can have a time to speak on new stuff, old stuff. Okay, so this time I'd like to go to a roll call. Yes.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
On the roads, is the road guy here?
He's going in the back there, he'll be back in a minute.
I'll tell you what, I lived in Cincinnati and moved out here 25 years ago. First time I got up in the morning and went out to get the paper, our road was plowed. In Cincinnati, maybe 7, 8 days later, they plowed our streets.
Now they just wait till it melts.
Yeah, they did. The one time, honestly, God, the one time, it was melting, and it came down and put about 3 tons of salt on it. It would burn your nose when you walked in the rough spots.
Well, yeah, I think
3 or 4 days out.
I still couldn't pass, it still shows that it's recorded. And then.
I've done that. I did that before. I just was very. And it's still much more.
You know, so this way, at least they can see it.
Right. I'm experimenting with these video edits. You might be able to know, we could take that word out. Session.
Yeah.
Something in the session. Yeah. I'm that one. Yeah.
You know,
I don't know. That's
as soon as you,
yeah, I'm curious. Because I've done the.
Yeah, that's what I
What I didn't do.
know, you know, that's.
I know, I have.
Yeah, that wasn't me.
Those aren't supposed to be there. He says it's a billion. But
I know, but
Oh,
it's neat.
something else. I didn't.
But it moves and yeah, only to make it in red. It's right. Right. No. Not your head.
where do you think that done?
Or you get your title done there, it's called chillage. I can get in there now. So is it water? No, it's all there. Yeah. So it's rock.
Let's move to that word.
But because it's. Yeah.
I was here.
You just.
Everybody sees a conspiracy where they
I'm gonna do the date and do something differently.
We don't know that.
That's
That's a
virus
pump
in
shot.
it, so I get
We're
my.
not privy to the real estate transactions, so we don't know what.
Get back
what
first.
the purchase price is
So
until
I'm gonna
after.
do something big and explain to the people how to.
Does that make sense?
I'm not exaggerating. Like, I did this,
Yeah.
They're buying, you can't do nothing.
I don't argue, but that's a bad thing.
Not really.
You're a smart fella. You see it, you understand why. It's not just exclusive to him not being able to. Everybody.
And when
It's like
was
a
that?
very steep hill.
Okay.
And you do that packet there. You can pull it up on the top of the mountain. I mean, there's one point. Yeah, steep. That's top of the creek, cutting that gouge out.
Right, I know there's a, because.
And so it's really.
Because you know.
I just feel that
someone else
he's
is
got
going
something
to love
that's
your
pretty
child.
yes, he does.
I'm not exaggerating. Ask me this part because I'm promoting.
I gotta
Yes.
check my personal opinion.
I was gonna call for. Everything.
And, you know, but if I was.
Because I don't know why.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So I want people to know, I'm gonna ask you, you know, I've been busy with a lot of stuff. But then my computer crashed. Judy gave, yes, yes, Judy gave me her number that night. I can't remember. So I got it from John.
Oh, you got it.
Yes, I said, John. He said, I know.
And so
He said,
60%.
and John said, he's gonna do this.
Online now.
Well, my boyfriend's a private citizen. He said, right.
So.
And he heard me talking about it, and he said, so what is it? And I told him, I said, regarding, I said, yes, they need funds. This is their
Unfortunately, it's not
big
delivered.
money. And he said, so how much is this? And I said, $45. He said, I think I'll go. What are they serving?
Yeah.
Yes. See, that's, I will contact you tomorrow and I will put something out
So
about that.
they don't get to vote on it, even if it went for a referendum on the ballot. Whatever happens on the ballot. It won't be on the ballot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Because they're not in the.
hopefully it'll be up on Friday.
Doesn't affect. Now, indirectly, there's the tax revenue.
Well, let me tell you what, some I did. Someone did.
The renter, they don't put in.
Because I don't live in Cape Town. I get beat up so bad, and I kind of backed off of that. But
In the school district.
I do love my hometown.
3 of the 4 buildings.
Someone did. I'll have them reshare it again.
That's cool. We had wanted it.
There's a section where we still got to do it. Very likely, it's like that.
Someone else will be that.
But, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, it's not wrong
But you
to
know
ask a
what,
question.
but you know what, when I worked
You know,
This one's the-
before we do anything, how's the township?
it's time to out all
So
the
I'm
time.
asking,
So Shelby, my boss, is even
whether they ask a question.
I want, she doesn't take time.
So they.
Or the first road,
Don't want what they have to say.
she will, she's posted it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Nobody's,
Just to send
you know,
it.
taking one in.
And you know, that's on the thing that.
I just can't get over the.
I guess you probably.
I got that man that.
I can't answer that question. I mean, I don't think anybody, the man doing it can, so.
But I
I
have to
don't know
say.
that he's not amenable to having a conversation. Because every question.
He made a big issue that I knew that we had
Is it like county?
Just go for herself.
Oh, you see.
Always
Same
have to
thing.
be call.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
And it wouldn't save what was, what you put in. Yeah.
Bad for people buying. I have fellas,
And when I do that.
somebody on Moore Road, there's not a water line on Moore Road. I was absolutely no water, no water, no power. But the guy sometimes sells land for $15,000 an acre.
Caveat
with the buyers beware. Because you buy it, you find out.
And
One guy did buy it,
So,
the guy that told me house
She
out there.
says, I have hands
Where
where
that's at, and it was like I remember being out there, dinner outside, and you look up at all the hills, you see all the lights and the houses and stuff.
But don't need to give you
The
that.
roads are great, and you say, "Look up there, they have the water line." Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, there's, well, my grandparents, on Jonesboro Road, they didn't have city water until like 2010, when we bought that hard gas.
and there was a dry year, and we had to have water, so they tapped the water line. I forget how much it was, I think at that time it was like $2,000. To tap it. When they ran that water line, my grandpa said no, they were offering to everybody up for $30. Set a meter and connect to the water line because it's over 7 meters. And now, now it's $4,500 for the water.
Make it in 3 months.
But that's what it takes.
Not a cash.
I mean, that's what I had a conversation.
We looked at building Pleasant Ridge in the city charts.
Wait until you talk about yourself. It'll be $4,500.
No, not septic anymore, it's the amount system.
Well, it's still.
$45,000.
Yeah, well, it's still say septic.
So it's amount.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about the survey. I've done it, I filled it out, my wife did it too. This first, like from 3 to 8 or 2 to 8 are for votes. Well, what we both found, you go in there and fill that out. By the time you get to the second page, it's got the balls and the blocks. Survey times out.
No kidding.
Yeah. It happened to me and it happened to her. So I don't know. So what you're liable to get is people just say the hell with it, or people want to do the first page. I don't know, but that's something we know.
Well, I'll bring that up. I didn't create it.
Oh, I knew you did. I didn't put your names on sending it out.
All right.
Yeah, I know from work. I work for Bell. And they would do survey money. That's surprising.
Yeah.
You get what you
Well, there's papers, there's old standby too.
Yeah, so, okay, you got some paper.
Yeah, that's the same survey.
Yeah.
It's not everybody does that. So, there's some here.
I did it on a laptop, I would hate to try to do it.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, there's paper ones there, there's more here, fire department. And they can drop them off the library.
I did it like the second day it was out on my laptop, and all of a sudden I got to the wild fill that out, and all of a sudden I got to the ground balls, you know, it's like, and then I figured out I'm timed out. But what I did is I went back and pasted everything. Same thing happened to my wife today,
I've had to do that.
and I told her to cut the things,
Yeah, I don't know.
So they sent
Like any number of online forms.
yeah, the server times, yeah,
Pretty bad thing, they should put a character on it. You know,
well, they don't have a character.
right.
So
So people are like, oh,
well, I got verbose, you know, so.
Let's just try to keep it under 500,000
Well, even that, I didn't go near that, maybe 4 or 5 sentences in each one. By the time I got.
We do have a choice.
I'll ask them.
Yeah.
If they have, there could be, maybe there's a setting since like that or something.
It's the same thing on different pieces. My wife, I was on a laptop, I was on Windows 10, she was on Windows 11.
Yeah, so you can fill it out, drop it off at my office, drop it up here to the fire department.
Okay.
Either one, and let everybody know that you're doing it.
Well, think about it.
And Bill.
And I told her the next transparency.
So,
That's what it's all about.
It's
you know what was your,
That is.
But,
Yeah.
so.
I got another one.
Have you ever put any?
Have I?
You mean to tell me you're disappointed in what I
I
said?
mean, like that.
Yeah,
that,
they're,
that one,
I just sat there and you was in the public.
we just laminated on like this, like,
Said our plan.
Well,
I spread that word.
I bought the glue.
The mayor.
Yeah, something. Put it on, and I used it. It's been on probably for 10 years. Roll it off, come loose. And
Yeah, the only I've ever dealt with is like this.
I worked here
like
at
the counties, get the piece, glue it on the end, or like cut the cap, do the countertop. One structure.
You know it.
Cabinet.
Oh, you know it.
Two parts.
Common fire. Probably about a dozen units. That is it.
But
I work every 6 days.
with the type on.
Families.
I tell you what, have you seen that, one in Trump that was one in Trump was
I don't.
so it's two parts. We put it on, the other one doesn't dry out on for anything, it doesn't stick. And you put the other agent on the other side of it, and you put them together, and it's one that sticks.
Oh, hey.
67 went the wrong way. They got on the radius of their next chip road.
I have said something. I have said something.
No,
This meeting is not. Great.
we're never.
Is your thing still on recording?
Sorry?
Mr. Schuler? Mr. Schuler, is your thing still recording us? It should be off when the meeting is off. You're eavesdropping in our private conversations. You are. You are. That should be off when these meetings are off. People are gonna sit there and see that, you know, whatever you post. No, they're not. They shut it off.
We're in public place.
They muted it. They muted it.
We're in a public place. Well, that's gonna be brought up immediately. Because I don't give you permission to sit there and listen to my conversations. And I'm not here for scream for everybody to hear it. And especially in the public.
I don't think I won't have him.
I'm gonna have 12. And then the next one, the next one, we'll never get rid of it. Questions.
I can turn the lights on once.
And I know it's kind of like.
You do that in the sections.
Well, our neighborhood, I mean, I don't.
It's gonna be one hell of a mess. Who's this? Like, what they do, was it Kramer? I never watched that. Kramer, yeah. Jerry Stiller. You know, Jerry Stiller, comedian.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. Observe.
You just sit there and
Base, the pole,
we watch
and,
silly
together,
videos.
that's what this whole day, equal area, my three of six.
It comes out of this thing and you go.
I always watch.
Before we go on record, Mr. Schuler is not turning his off, and he's dropping on everybody that's sitting in here talking. I don't think that's right when you get in a public meeting like this. I don't give my consent to that. Well, it's kids. So anyway, that's my break.
You guys muted yours.
Yours is off.
We're not in a meeting.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Okay, motion to adjourn the executive session. The time is 8:29.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to reopen the regular meeting, and the time is 8:29.
Yes.
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 It's on.
It is on?
Okay. Good. No, the Sunshine Law says that you are allowed to, record a meeting, and when we close the meeting is closed. At this point, we're not recording the meeting after we close it, go to executive or whatever. I have Ms. Steinman's opinion on this.
I think it would be great if we could have you mute or turn off the microphone. Would you be willing to do that, if we step out for executive session and close the meeting? Would you be willing to do that?
Thank you, because it's not an actual meeting at the time when we close it. It's public building.
Meeting's still in session.
Meeting was stopped. We just
Still-
we just opened.
Still in a public place.
This in a public place, and I think that, we've had somebody that has expressed a desire not to.
Some type of privacy?
You guys gave him he had to ask you permission to put that up there.
Right.
So that gives you some
Well,
type of
it's not
authority.
working out here on the floor, and we'll make a convert for a session right here.
Well, but if you agree, but if close the meeting, that
Is that fine?
the
You agree
recording
to
would
that?
go up, I think that.
Okay, that's all. Thank you for doing that. And is that, everybody happy with that? Everybody good? Okay, no, comment or nothing, we're good? Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point, Mr. Stanley, do you have any more with the street department?
I'm done, thank you.
Okay, cemetery. Okay, next, we will go into the zoning report with Inspector Barrett.
I will try to be as brief as I can. I realize it's getting a little late. For the month of February 2025, I had 5 permits issued. 2 were new single-family dwellings. 3 were garages. One of those garages was a non-conforming use. That non-conforming was replacing a structure that collapsed under the snow. So it would not meet our current zoning guidelines, but pre-existing zoning, so we just issue a non-conforming use certificate so you still get a building permit. I had 1 lot split, 3 new street addresses, at $647,186.84 in improvement costs to the township, and $1,650 application fees collected. 31 on phone activity, had 31 voicemails that were left.